Former OMB Director and Center for Renewing America President, Russ Vought. Russ, it's good to see you this morning. Moving past the debt ceiling debate now, the question is, what does Washington look like in the fall?
Well, I don't think it's going to have as much brinksmanship that Fitch is so opposed to. And I would just say that the reason that we should have a negative watch on our credit rating is because we're spending too much and have too much debt, not because there's political brinksmanship, which is the very thing that's going to fix this thing. But the reality is they have largely removed the ability to have brinksmanship really until the end of Joe Biden's presidency. And there's a lot of people saying, well, you'll still have it in the appropriations process. I doubt it. The very terms of the deal make it so that there is incentive for omnibus bills and big spending packages. So I don't think the brinksmanship will be there over the course of this next several months.
Well, the Wall Street Journal's got a new piece out this morning. It's titled "Why the U.S. Remains Far from Recession." And the author writes something very interesting. Many economists expect the Fed's rate increases to cool the economy and price pressures over time, triggering a recession later this year. So far, however, the data keeps coming in hotter than forecast. We all been on this panel all morning scratching our heads as to, is there a recession, not a recession, a mild recession, a flat recession? Take your pick of how you want to describe what could be a recession, Russ.
I don't think we're in a recession now, but I don't think all of the signs that have been coming out are all positive. And there's some negative ones. You look at manufacturing, you look at some of the other employment indexes that bring in small businesses in a more fulsome way, and they're pointing down. So I think it's a mixed bag right now, and I don't think we know. And as a result, you also have the Fed having to deal with the fact that the Treasury is going to be putting out massive new debt on the other side of this debt limit. And so I don't think we know. And I think that there's a substantial room for caution in looking ahead over the next several months.
Robert, go ahead.
Yeah, Russ, I think the word is caution. I think as business owners are very cautious about it. What I worry about is I think the Fed raised rates way too quickly last year and really shocked the economy into a stall pattern. Do you see a rise in interest rates there this year? Or do you see a pause?
I think it's probably they're going to have a pause, at least in this next meeting, and I think that's wise because they have so much debt that the Treasury is going to put out on the aftermath of the debt limit that's going to be soaking in liquidity, and I think they've got to think through what do we do about that and what's the impact on the money supply as a result of that. So I think they would be wise to do that. However, I think the Fed generally looks at some of the wrong things. They look at the economy and say we got to have the economy dampen as a result, and I think they're going to be looking at it from that standpoint because they're going to want to hurdle it a little bit, and I think that's flawed.
Yeah, well, and they keep saying data dependent. We're going to have a CPI report right as the Fed is meeting next week. And obviously the headline number is what Americans are talking about. Whether or not the core number is what the Fed is going to be talking about, we'll find out in a minute. It's, a month from now. But I want to bring in Liz Peek because obviously this recession conversation is so debatable, Liz, so debatable.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many conflicting signals. But I'd like to go back to the spending conversation. You're obviously adamantly for a cut in spending, and you sound very pessimistic about whether Congress will actually rise to that level. But McCarthy has really put his reputation on the line now as saying that as we get into the appropriations conversations, whether there's a CR or whatever going forward, we are going to cut spending. Do you just completely think that's impossible?
I think it's totally false, and I think it's more Lucy in the football in which we've come to expect from leadership in this town. And there was this one glimmer of moment where we saw the House rise together and unify around $5 trillion in savings, and they squandered that at the negotiating table. And then they gave a 2-year uncapped debt limit deal and put in place incentives to make it harder for them to actually try to cut spending beneath the caps, which is what their argument is over the Sunday shows. So no, I don't see any chance that with Kevin McCarthy in as Speaker that they're going to be able to cut spending. I do think he's going to have a reckoning with his conference over the deal that he negotiated, particularly because he's the one that wanted the second year and gave that to Biden in the course of the negotiations.
Well, but Russ, let me push back, though, because, look, it comes down to negotiation. The landscape is you have a Democrat president, you have a Democrat-controlled Senate, and a Republican-controlled House. So either nothing gets done, which which I think many would say is unacceptable in the face of this rampant government spending that has led to rampant inflation over the last 2 years. Either you get nothing or you get something. Why isn't something okay? Why it's 10% jump for Kevin McCarthy in his polling numbers based on what he seems to me has accomplished with President Biden. It wasn't a no.
I'm all for something. I'm not for nothing. And there have no cuts in this bill. And as a result, his polling is on the basis of artificial messaging that will come down to earth once people realize the actual provisions of this deal. And they have never been in a stronger position. They passed out of the House $5 trillion in savings when no one in town thought it was possible. They had massive polling at their back, and they were unable to negotiate anything meaningful other than a bunch of shiny objects that when you investigate them, and I read the entirety of the bill the minute it came out, none of them were as they said.
All right. Well, we shall see. Yeah.
Well, you know, Cheryl, something, nothing. You know what I really want as a business owner?
Yeah.
Certainty.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I can't run a business with uncertainty.
Yeah. Well, Russ, I mean, obviously, the market has, in a good way for us, as stock market folks, the market is not falling off a cliff on another debt debacle like we had in 2011. So we'll see. Russ, it's always good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, Russ Vought.